And as you see, the teenagers are saying, wow, this is so fast, how wonderful. And the data collector is saying, wow, this is fast, and all the data he is collecting. And it's all going into the deep state with unlimited data collection. And there'll also be connections to the UN 2030. How many of you have heard of UN 21, Agenda 21? Well, in 2015, they met and created 17 goals for 2030. And they're called Sustainable Development Goals, just abbreviated SDG. And some of them are really interesting, like 16.9, by 2030, every nation will have to provide legal identity for all, including birth registration. And many people believe this will involve chipping all newborn babies. Many moves have been put in that direction already. The VeriChip was approved by the Federal Drug Administration in 2004 for all hospitals. And this is what it looks like. It's just a little tiny chip the size of a grain of rice. And they're already using it in hospitals for Alzheimer's patients, for various companies. There's a company in Wisconsin that had a microchip party, and they have 92 out of 196 of their employees are now chipped. Isn't that wonderful? And in Sweden, the epicenter, 150 out of 2,000 employees are now chipped, and it's all about convenience. Implanting microchips into employees and all people is the wave of the future. We are going to be combining technology in our bodies. That's what Noel Chesley, Associate Professor of Sociology, University of Wisconsin, said.
Mark of the beast.
That's right. And the chips in humans, how people will connect to the Internet of Things. We started with a simple little chip, and now it's evolved into a whole other business. We're in development right now of an actual chip that will be powered by the human body, and it will have GPS tracking capabilities along with voice recognition. This is what Todd Westby, he's the CEO of the Three Square Market, a provider of self-serving vending machines, who's the one who had the chipping party in Wisconsin and has chipped hundreds of his own employees. So as you see, they're moving in a whole new direction. There will be capabilities for voice recognition and GPS tracking. Do you want to be tracked by the GPS? And you want to have your voice recognized wherever you go? This is amazing.
You can eliminate cash too.
That's right. That's what's over here. This is a man on board a train, and the lady, the rail operator in Sweden, is scanning the hand of the passenger where he had a chip inserted, and that's how he's paying for his train service. They're really promoting this big in Sweden. Next slide. So this is where it will be placed, right between the thumb and the first index finger. That way they think it won't move because it'll be lodged in between these two bones. And this is another way they're promoting it for children to be chipped by saying that this will prevent them from ever being involved in sex trafficking or being kidnapped. And this is also one of the goals for UN 2030. Immediate measures will be made to eradicate modern slavery, sex trafficking by 2025. Do you think we could actually have this so fast and furious promoted by 2025? It's a possibility. This is what NBC says. Your children will definitely be microchipped. They said that back in 2016. If it'll save my kid, there's no stuff that's too extreme. Microchipping would be an extra layer of protection if something bad does happen. That's what Rodriguez Neely, mother of three, said. But the sad thing is, if it can be used for protecting a child, it could also be used for finding the child. Let you go to the next slide.
We won't need borders if everything is overseen by an unseen hand.
That's true.
You know, I was thinking when you were talking about how the 5G, they don't no one. I keep on trying to come up with a rationale. Why are they so against the border wall? What is a problem with that? You know, and I was just thinking, well, they bring them all up to the areas where the technologies are being implemented. We don't have to go down into
Into
South
Central
America and
America.
start planting all these technologies, because we just bring the people up here.
Oh no, this is a migration pack.
Right.
This is a UN migration pack. All this, just like the Arab Spring.
Mhm.
This is the equivalent to the Arab Spring. That's why they're coming north.
I think you're right. Well, I think some of this will be actually answered as I go further.
Okay.
So let's wait till the very end to have
All
any
right.
questions.
You
How do we
had-
know
you
we're
had
not
a lot
already
of-
checked?
Mhm.
Some of us are, I think.
See, I
Anyway,
have
this is,
yeah.
some of you have made reference to the mark of the beast. This is exactly what the New Testament warns us about in Revelations 13, 16 through 17, and 16, verse 2. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So that's in Revelation 13, but no one seems to remember this one that's in Revelation 16 too. There fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the man who had the mark of the beast. What could that sore be? Kind of, it could be cancer. And this is what Dr. Mercola said. Pets that have been microchipped have developed cancer around them. Many of the study animals with microchip-associated tumors died prematurely due to the masses. In addition, many of the tumors metastasize, spreading cancer to the lungs, liver, stomach, pancreas, and other organs. And of course, you know, just about every pet now has a little chip in the back of its neck. We had 2 darling pug dogs that were guarding our smart meter. Of course, they were not the ferocious guard dogs, but they both died of cancer.
Wow.
And I wondered if that's what caused it. So just remember that. You don't want to have that noisome sore that will come on you. This is the major cities where 5G will be tested. I told you about Salt Lake City. And this is the campus of the University of Utah that, as you see the big U on the mountain, and then just 2 miles down is where the city is. Next one. Verizon's 3 chosen cities. So Verizon is also choosing special cities. So the ones in California are Sacramento, Los Angeles, and the next slide, San Diego.
Wow.
And what's so interesting, all 3 of these cities are mega cities on the America 2050 map.
Oh, wow.
If you have not ever seen that map, it's in my book, but it shows you that 11 mega, we're going to be divided into 11 mega cities across the nation, and a mega city has at least 10 million people. So they're trying to force us off our little rural areas and force us into these big mega regions. Why? We can be so much more easily controlled, kept track of, and surveyed. That's right. So 5G, direct energy weapons. These are called DEWS, D-E-W-S, quiet weapons for silent wars. And these weapons could include lasers, high-powered microwaves, electromagnetic pulse, anti-radiation energy, and concentrated beams designed to attack personnel, facilities, or equipment with intent of degrading, neutralizing, or destroying enemy capabilities. All these weapons were mentioned in kind of a war games that were going on over the national parks and forests of the Olympic Peninsula in 2014. And even though there was a lot of protestation by people that lived around the parks, they continued on. It lasted almost the entire year. So they were testing all of these weapons over the national parks and forests. And this is what they look like. If you go to Lockheed Martin's website, they are very proud of their weapons, and you can just see a little video that shows them what they do. This is called the ground-based Athena, and it can shoot a laser straight up and bring down a drone, bring down an airplane. It shows it shooting a ship in the ocean and destroys that. It shows them destroying a truck. Next slide. Lasers being used from drones or planes. This is what the U.S. Air Force airplane is equipped to do. As you see, the front of it is equipped to be a laser weapon. This shows you a Air Force plane, or it could have been a drone, flying with big fire behind it, and it is shooting a laser. Could it have started that fire? And then shows you drones shooting down lasers from up in the sky, and behind them are like many other little drones. You just can't see it very well in this slide. Now we're going to talk about the Santa Rosa fires. This is the Santa Rosa fires were on October 9th, 2017, 5,000 homes totally destroyed, including their foundations. Everything melted, refrigerators, washing machines, everything melted just down to fine dust. We had a home fire in 1984 in Santa Rosa, a normal fire. The foundation was not destroyed. The walls were left standing. The inside was somewhat destroyed and gutted out, but it was a normal fire. And the firemen were able to put it out, and there was, still things standing, and nothing melted inside. These fires were so totally different, and every fireman I've spoken to, they said it was like a war zone, like a bomb went off. They'd never seen anything like it. So this is Coffey Park, where 13 homes were destroyed, yet the trees and the lawns were left green. Across the street, all those homes were just fine. If this were really a wildfire coming with this horrible wind and coming from the forest, why was the forest not being burned?
Right here, but behind these trees, closest to these houses, was there a forest on this left picture? What backed
no.
up to those houses? Just
No,
other homes?
it was an open area. They say it was because of the high wind that brought it in, but it was not really the case. And then this is the Fountain Grove Parkway, where another 500 homes were destroyed, beautiful millionaire homes. And as you again see, the foundations were gone, everything melted down to a fine powder, yet the lawns and the golf course still green. And you can see close up the lawns and the golf course. My husband and I, after we finally were able to come back after being evacuated for 3 weeks, drove through the Fountain Grove area, and we saw a man digging through the fine powder, and he told us that, he actually showed us, he had found, this was his parents' property, they had told him to go look where they had their gold and silver in a safe. The safe was melted, the gold and silver was melted into a big ball, and he showed me the ball.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Cool.
So for something to melt a steel,
That's extraordinary heat.
it says it's got to be 3,000 degrees heat. Next slide. This shows our Kurla home. Our home is over here. All behind us, all of the property, there were beautiful homes behind us, all gone. The home over here, you see just a little bit what's left of they had kind of a white shed that collapsed. And behind it, their home was totally gone, only a little bit of a fireplace left. This home, we just loved these people. They were the only Republicans with us in this whole neighborhood. Their home totally gone. This home was remarkable. The garage was left standing, and the next morning, right after the fires, a friend of ours in our church was able to sneak through. Over this area was the Little League field. Our boys used to go and play Little League games, just crawling under the fence and over through a little ditch. And so we came in the same way because everything was blocked off. You couldn't get in any roads. And our friend in our church came in that way the morning after the fire and called us and said, "You will not believe it, but your home survived." And he was describing everything else, and he said this home survived. By the end of the day, that home was gone. There was no more wind blowing, no more fire. I think they just realized they forgot that one, and because it had a smart meter, they were able to zap it. That's my theory. But what is amazing is plastic garbage cans were left everywhere, nice and green.
And not melted.
Not melted. So if this were a true forest fire coming from the forest, Why were the plastic
Plastic
cans
garbage.
everywhere still standing? This was a microwave fire. And if you put plastic into a microwave oven to heat your food, it's just fine. If you put metal in, you've
God help you.
right, you've kind of ruined your microwave. But this is what this was. And as you see, all of our trees are left standing. Our home, we just couldn't believe it. We thought it was a miracle. I think it probably was. Before we evacuated, we had a prayer. And in fact, I told my husband to go give our home a blessing, which he did. But I still believe it had something to do with the smart meters. We were the only one that did not have a smart meter. And I spoke to an electrical engineer who told me that he believed if this truly were caused by the power lines going down, the PG&E power lines, if they went down, they created this surge that went straight to the smart meters and caused them to explode because they had radiation in them. An old analog meter has no radiation, it's grounded, it would not explode. And so I think that was part of it. But other firemen truly believe they were using the smart meters as kind of the target to send the laser to. And that's what you were telling us, and you'll show the next slide. This is Paradise. And this is really kind of where you see this. An aerial picture taken 1 week after the Paradise Fire shows all these homes zap, 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 zap.
And all the trees still standing.
And all the trees still standing. 17,000 structures destroyed, 14,000 homes. 3,000 were businesses, church, library, schools. 86 people died. Maybe that's only the ones they could actually claim or recognize. And then this is kind of a more elite area. Again, one home after another gone, and yet the green lawns still there, the trees still there. If this were a forest fire coming from the forest, as they claimed, why did the forest not burn? Why was it, and so selective? They just select the homes, and then as Liz mentioned, the firemen that went through there and spoke to people, and Paul Preston, who I write about in my book, the interview he had, he said that there were homes that were just in the construction mode, all wood, left standing. They had no smart meters.
We're not reading any of that anywhere, are we?
No.
Well, the smart meters were there, but the smart meters were turned off.
On
Right,
some of
because
them.
they were not occupied.
But the homes under construction, they hadn't put in the smart meters yet. But one home did turn off everything before they left, and their home survived. So I truly believe there was something to do with these smart meters.
So the implication is, if you literally cut the cable and remove the smart meter and detach it from the house, you could effectively test whether or not those meters are the problem.
I'm sure that's true. But you don't really have to cut the cable. There's a
No,
way.
they have a little lock cable on them to keep you from removing the meter.
Oh, okay.
So you would have to cut that wire because it has a little lead seal on it.
Is there any way you could just turn off all your electrical things, circuits?
Oh yeah, you could turn off all the switches.
I think that's what this family did. They just turned off all the switches, but something they did caused their home to survive, and the others did. So, next slide. Now this shows you what happened with the cars.
Mm-hmm.
If this were a true hot fire, most forest fires are under 1,000 degrees. Aluminum melts at 1,121. As you see, all the aluminum on all of these cars was just melted off onto the ground looking like a puddle. All the glass gone, all the electrical appliance, everything inside gone, electrical circuits.
But
And-
the grapes are not melted.
And the grapes are not melted, they're behind. Nothing happened to them. The trees are left standing. And then these are the lineup of cars. The poor people trying to flee had to finally leave their cars and go running as fast as they could. And some of the cars, they found dead bodies inside. So if this were truly a regular fire would not have harmed these cars like it did, but the cars was like a laser hit them as well. And one of the videos that I saw, a lady was saying, were they using the GPS system inside the cars, the computer circuits, whatever, as the guiding system for a laser coming in, as the smart meter was for destroying the homes. And in my book, I mention an interview I had with an old friend who told me that this was around 2010 in Salt Lake City. She was driving down the freeway, and a helicopter flew over all of the cars, and the cars all stopped.
Ian,
That technology exists.
They had that technology back then. And then when the helicopter flew away, the cars were able to start going. So they were able to control cars back then, and now these cars are so much more highly developed. So is that what was happening to these cars as well? There had to be some reason why they were so totally destroyed on the inside, just like the houses were. Next slide. So what can we do? It seems kind of like we can't hold back this runaway horse. It's just amazing how I've seen all over every state I've been in, the 5G small cell antennas. So what can we do? We can inform others of the health risks and get them to join you. We can support state legislature to stop the mandatory deployment. I was speaking about this 2 weeks ago in Idaho Falls for a big preparation conference, and a state senator heard about my talk and asked for a copy of my book. They don't have state legislation yet mandating this in Idaho, so maybe he can help stop it from happening. And maybe you can stop your city council from going any farther with this. I spoke probably about a month ago at a hearing in Marin County where the Board of Supervisors were addressing this issue, and the room was packed with about 200 people. They had a presentation by Verizon, by AT&T, and then they opened it up to the public, and every one of these people spoke out against it, and they were so well informed. They had all my statistics from my book. In fact, when I spoke, I said, I am just so amazed. You people in this room know more about 5G than anyone in the rest of the nation, and how they were able to hold this back. So there are 5 cities in Marin County that their city councils have refused to allow 5G into the residential area. I guess it's still in the downtown areas. And now the Board of Supervisors, after they heard everyone's testimony, they essentially said, I know if we say no to this for the whole county, we're going to be sued by the FCC, probably by Verizon, who else? But we're willing to risk this because we believe the health of our people is more important than this lovely, wonderful 5G, nice technology. And who knows if they're going to go forward with that. But some of the cities have actually had success. Berkeley, of all places, because they had a biology professor from the university speak before the city council, they have been able to pass an ordinance there that every cell phone that is sold inside the city limits of Berkeley has to have a warning label on it. They were sued as well by Verizon, but the Ninth Circuit Court upheld them.
Wow.
And so there's one city so you just have to be bold, and if we can get our citizens to be bold, maybe we can make a difference. And then we should try to demand that your child's school does not have Wi-Fi. In Europe, in France and other countries, they will not allow Wi-Fi in the schools for little children. But here, anything goes, but you just need enough well-informed parents to speak out against this. You can have wired systems like we always had before.
We all have Wi-Fi in our homes.
Good for you.
Don't we?
Well, most Americans do at this point. But you can at least turn your Wi-Fi off at night, and you can sleep so much better. And then opt out of the smart meters. You still can. Just be courageous and gutsy and demanding it. And then these are just some of the other things we can do. I have 26 good suggestions in the last chapter of my book. But limit your use of wireless devices. Never use a laptop on your lap. Put wireless phone. Never put it next to your face. Don't carry cell phones in your pocket or inside your bra. And don't use Bluetooth. Even Bluetooth has some electromagnetic frequency coming out of it. Don't stare at blue lights of cell phones. That's what this cell phone is a blue LED light. And we know that the funny little spaghetti lights are bad. We know all these, but LED is also bad. They're just not telling us that. And the iPhone also has LED. LED is causing macular degeneration. So if you're using your computer for a long time, every hour stop. And I go around the corners of the room with my eyes just to give them some good exercise. Our eyes are muscles. We need to exercise as well, and go look at something else. Try not to just stay hours in front of it. Don't let your children use cell phones. They're very harmful for developing skulls and bones. Refuse to ever have a microchip inside your body or allow it in your children's body. Refuse a smart meter. Protect your home shielded if necessary. Unplug appliances when not in use. Install wired internet connection. If you must use Wi-Fi, turn it off at night. Eat healthy, good, nutritious food. Grow your own garden. Have food and water storage. If you are going to say refuse to have a chip, just as that scripture in Revelation says, it says that you will have to have this to be able to buy and sell. So you're going to have to either have something to barter with or have enough food supply that grow your own garden so you will not be forced to buy and sell and have that chip. Pray hard. God does not want us to lose our liberties or be captive to a one-world technocracy government system. And I think that was my last slide. This is where you can find my books. I started my own little publishing company, booksfortruth.com, and I love these quotes. You shall know the truth shall make you free, John 8:32. In times of universal deceit, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act, by George Orwell. Never be afraid to raise your voice for honesty and truth. If people all over the world do this, it would change the earth. William Faulkner.
Amen.
Thank you very much. Now, questions. Or
Okay, I was going to
comments.
say, would you be willing to take some questions?
Sure.
Okay. You were very thorough.
Thank
Very
you.
thorough, and the information was a wealth of information.
There's a lot more, but we could probably go on for 3 hours or so.
Excuse me, there are people out there who would say I'm quite naive with these questions.
That's all right. Any
But-
question is acceptable.
I was an investigator for a federal agency for 21 years on my own in
Wow.
41 counties of California. So I'm a little bold. I piss off judges too.
Good.
Are we safer in the mountains?
Perhaps because if they're telling the truth about 5G, it has a hard time going through structures that will block it. That's why you see them cutting down trees right and left. In Paradise, they were using the Paradise fires as an excuse to go in there before the people
And
could
remove
come back
the urban forest
and remove the trees. And perfectly good, wonderful trees they were
that's
cutting down.
still standing.
That's right.
So are we more vulnerable at elevation?
I don't know. Maybe higher up, they're having less deployment of 5G.
Well, see,
Travel.
I'm thinking we're more vulnerable to the infrared.
Oh, yes, and especially the 5G is coming down from the satellites. Oh, it's scary, isn't it? Yeah, where do you go?
We better off underground.
Yes, we probably are.
Okay. Let me reveal myself.
With a lead ceiling.
With a rock ceiling.
Lead.
Lead ceiling.
Really?
Except lead, of course, is leaching down on you.
I know it.
It's like everything you think of. Okay, that's not good either.
In 2017, I preface this by saying, going back to when we had brick cell phones, and I literally had to drive to a high spot in order to get a line of sight to possibly reaching a tower out there somewhere. And then I had to put this damn heavy piece of crap on top of my car and extend the antenna in order to communicate. And like as not, I would connect with the wrong system and they wouldn't be able to help me, even though I was literally working on a murder case.
Wow.
Um,
What year was that?
that would be 1990 approximately.
Wow.
That's how fast all of this crap has
I
happened.
don't think we even had such a thing in our home or
Well-
even knew about cell phones back then.
Cell phones were out in the 50s.
The
Is that
federal
right?
the federal agencies
Canon?
like I worked for were testing these things in the late 80s and early 90s. At any rate, in 2017, I had some headaches, and I had developed an autoimmune